Hello and welcome to the Make Money with Mace podcast. I'm your host, Mace, and let's just get right into some NFL talk. So, just reviewing the weekend plus Monday night, had a 2-3 weekend, which is what it is, but still 22-16 overall on this season. And the two losses were, I believe it was, the Bears and the Vikings played a disaster factory of a game. And then the Seahawks went 1-5 in the red zone, which if they just converted one of those opportunities to a touchdown, or if they kicked a field goal, took some points on one of those opportunities, would have had the cover 17-16, but alas. The two wins, Jacksonville, easy. The Saints under is the easiest thing ever at this point. And just getting right into it. Monday night, that was a disaster. Talk about teams needing to take the points. If Herbert played a pretty poor game, and I think just the constant pressure from I know that the Cowboys only had one sack, but sacks are really a quarterback stat at the end of the day because they're not always a quarterback stat, but a lot of the time they are. You can see like Sam Howell creates his own sacks, and his offensive line isn't really all that bad. When you compare it to like Mac Jones, who's been sacked in under 2.5 seconds more than anybody in the NFL. And 2.5 seconds is basically the time where it's just like, okay, that's the gray area. And once it gets to around 3 seconds, that's probably when the sack is on the QB because a route should be open by then. And obviously there's receivers and other things that play factors. So it's pretty gray, but a lot of the times getting sacked is a product of, I want to say, getting sacked can be a lot of different things, but it's obviously, does the defensive lineman beat the offensive lineman quickly, and does the quarterback hold on to the ball too long? And those are the two big factors for it. And despite the Cowboys only having one sack on Herbert, Osa Odighizuwa, DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, and Dante Fowler were getting after it, had Herbert under siege all night. And I think the pressure really got to him and forced him to miss some throws. And hopefully that can be corrected going forward against less hellacious pass rushers. And honestly, it's probably a game like that's probably needed to get him used to pressure again and get him back to that point where he was great under pressure his rookie year. So with all that being said, we can get right into the week previews. And the first one, which my best bet tonight, is going to be Jacksonville Jaguars at New Orleans Saints. You know it. You love it. It's the under. The number is 40, and for a game without Trevor, that number is crazy high. Potentially without Trevor. If Trevor plays, he'll be limited, and I think it'll be a big Travis Etienne feature anyways. And with the Saints' vanilla offense, I don't see a lot of points being scored because Jacksonville's defense has slick been balling. They've been super, super good this season. They ranked 8th in DVOA. Josh Allen is tied for the league in sacks. I think he's got 7 on the season or 7.5, and he's racking up pressures like crazy. Trayvon Walker is getting better and better every single week and is causing so much havoc with pressure and being a force in the run game and just using his physical tools to be dominant. And with that being the case, I just saw that my best bet tonight, Jordan went almost yard, and Leody Tavares robbed it. That sucks. Jordan will have another shot. It's only the top of the 6, so have one more shot, and maybe the Rangers can force extra innings and help me out. Oh, man, that stinks, especially since he's been hit twice, too. Damn. Anyways, that was a tangent. But yeah, Jacksonville's defense is really, really solid. They rank 8th in DVOA. And they've faced some good offenses. They've held the Chiefs down. They've held the Bills down. Obviously, the Bills were London Towny and all that stuff. But overall, Jacksonville's played really good ball on the defensive side. And the only time they got lit up was by C.J. Stroud, which they probably were sleepwalking that game. Because they rank 8th overall. Yeah, that's the right one. No, that's total DVOA for defense, right? Oh, I'm so silly. So I saw there last week. They were 10th. They're 8th now. They rank 10th in the pass, 6th in the rush. They just do their job defensively and do such a good job of it. And against the Saints, who rank 7th, who are, again, excellent in pass coverage. Their rush defense is not as good, but still they are a phenomenal unit. I think those two defenses running into each other, especially with potentially no Trevor Lawrence and with Derek Carr really being pretty bad, even before he hurt his shoulder, he was not playing well whatsoever. And then you also have the fact that potentially no Trevor. It would be a lot of Etienne, a lot of Alvin Kamara on the ground, speed the game up, and probably just be like a quick sicko football type of game. I don't see 40 getting touched, just because these defenses are both really good, and while Jacksonville's offense ranks 13th by DVOA and can put up a lot of points, I don't see it humming with a gimpy Trevor or no Trevor, so that's why the under is the play there, in my opinion. Then we go to the next game. Sunday afternoon. There's no London games. Atlanta at Tampa. This is a funky one because obviously Desmond Ridder has been really, really bad. He's been one of the worst quarterbacks, if not the worst quarterback in football. And he's actually really harming their total DVOA because the Falcons' defense is honestly not that bad, but they have to be on the field so long that they look worse than they actually are. And they held the Commanders to only like 185 total yards or something crazy like that, and they still lost because Ridder just kept turning the ball over. So it's weird to bet on them, especially since Tampa is actually pretty good. Like, they're an average football team. They're probably going to win the games they're supposed to win and lose games they're supposed to lose this year, and that's not the worst spot. That's not the worst spot to be in as a team. So take that as you will. I don't know if I'll be betting on this game. Dogs are getting harder and harder as time goes on. So, yeah, I don't know. And then the next game, which will be a likely Jimmy G-less Raiders against a Justin Fields-less Bears. You want to talk some sicko football. We might get Aiden O'Connell against Tyson Bagent. And for what it's worth, if you're into prop bets, just take Max Crosby, his sack prop. I think it's going to hit. He's a baller. And the Bears obviously have a lot of offensive line issues. I know Darnell Wright's actually been pretty good for them. Their first round pick at the 9 spot. 9 or 8 spot, I forget exactly. But it was the pick that was the Panthers. And that's been good, but I just think that Tyson Bagent looked like a rookie backup quarterback out of a Division II school. And I think he will continue to look that way. Aiden O'Connell, bare minimum, I've seen him play good ball, be it in the preseason or in college, and Khalil Mack did wreck that game when he played, so there's a chance he might be able to do some damage against a defense that won't get after it that same way. So, but the Raiders are favored anyways, so that would have been a really fun dog to pick with Justin Fields out there. But I do know my dog. I see my dog right now. But we'll get to that in a little bit. The Cleveland Browns up against Big Shoe, Gardner Minshew, and the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, no Anthony Richardson makes that makes that offense a lot less dynamic and makes it a lot less dynamic and easier to defend. I think with Cleveland's defense being one of the best units we've seen in a long, long time, probably since like a Legion of Boom, it's probably the best defense since one of those teams. I think we're going to see a thumping by Cleveland. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be a gross football game. And the Colts did just lose Grover Stewart, who is a main contributor. So I think 40 is a pretty high number for this game, considering that the Colts defense is pretty solid itself. I don't know. I might stay away. I don't like betting on Cleveland just in general. They're a gross team to bet on. And then we got Detroit Lions at Baltimore Ravens. That's the pick. That's the dog. Detroit on the road, 3-point dogs. They're a lot better than Baltimore. Like a lot better than Baltimore. If you look at, not a lot. I know that Baltimore's defensive DVOA ranking is pretty high. It's ranked 2nd. I don't really trust that. They haven't really faced many good offenses yet. And they did give up 24 points to a gimpy Joe Burrow. And I just don't think that they've really had to play anybody threatening yet. And I think we're going to see them exposed a little bit defensively, against Detroit, where they're real. They are a beyond quality football team. They rank 4th in offensive DVOA, 3rd in defensive DVOA. Them and the Niners are the only teams that have a top 5 stat in both, and I think that it shows when you watch them play. The analytics are passing the eye test. They thump on defense. They are super physical in the run game, and they're very good at defending the pass now. And Aiden Hutchinson is just a monster in pass rush. And the thing as well with the Lions and the way they've constructed their offense, and even without David Montgomery, this is still the case. They force you to play a heavy personnel package with their ability to run the ball and have multiple tight ends on the field. Because obviously you don't want to just get ran all over and let them control the game that way. But the way they punish that heavy personnel is the fact that they have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams and Khalif Raymond and just these fast guys on the outside, and Amon-Ra, who's just Wes Welker come again, running that same exact route pattern. It's just an amazing offense to watch cook. It's such a good offense, and I think that with the Ravens, because who have they even played? I need to look at this. Who have the Ravens played? What's their schedule? I know they faced the Texans week 1. Let me take a look at this. I want to see... They're 4-2. I need to see their schedule. I need to go to Pro Football Reference. But I will filibuster until then by saying how Detroit, Ben Johnson has done a phenomenal job, and Jared Goff is putting together an amazing season. He is super, super good. Oh, I'm remembering this. The Ravens face DTR. Okay, yeah. This is not a... These defensive numbers are incredibly unserious. So they beat the Texans 25-9 in CJ Stroud's first professional start. They beat a gimpy Joe Burrow 27-24. They lose to the Colts 22-19 because the Ravens just don't know how to finish games. They beat up on Dorian Thompson-Robinson 20-3 October 1st. That's week 4, so they are 3-1 at this point. They go to Pittsburgh and they have more drops than anything, and lose to the Steelers 17-10 because the Ravens can't close out a game. And then you've got the Ravens and Justin Tucker kicking 6 field goals to beat the Titans 24-16. And again, they were letting the Titans back into that game. And the Titans are probably the second best offense they've faced so far this year. So they haven't really faced an actual good team yet, and I think the Lions might maul them. I think we're going to see a big difference in terms of team construction and just how good the Lions are in comparison to a team like the Ravens, who I think are in like tier 2, right? I think the Lions, the Niners, I know the Niners and Chiefs have lost, but it's like the Lions, Chiefs, Niners, and Dolphins and Bills they're very hot and cold, but I think that group of teams has separated themselves. Like that top 5 has very much separated itself from the rest of the good NFL teams, which includes like the Ravens, the Eagles, the Cowboys, Seahawks, Jaguars, like teams like that. So I think that there's some separation happening in regards to that, and I think Detroit's going to show that. So that's why they're going to be my favorite dog. They are wicked good. They're really fun to watch, and yeah. Buffalo's going to beat the crap out of the Patriots. 8.5 is not enough. That's too much respect. The last times Buffalo... what's the average margin of victory? That's actually something I want to see. Last 2 times Buffalo has played New England. Because since the wind game in Buffalo, where the Patriots won 14-10 in that win, I want to say that the Patriots lost to I remember watching the game. Okay, here we go. This is what I want to see. So, StatMuse is betraying me. I need to go to Football Reference. Obviously, there's a playoff game. It was like 47-10. That Buffalo beat the crap out of the Patriots. And then there was a 24-10 game at Gillette Stadium where Buffalo could have easily made that a lot worse. Let me check. Buffalo Bills. I want to see 2022. Team stats and standings. Buffalo Bills. So last year, here we go. Last year, they beat the Patriots 35-23, which should have been, that was 2 special teams touchdowns that the Patriots allowed, kickoff ones. Fun, awesome, love that. Then they beat the Patriots 24-10 in Foxborough, which again could have been a lot more if they really wanted to. Let me go to 2021. Buffalo Bills, who are just a great football team now. Okay, 2021. The Patriots beat them in the win game 14-10. And then they played the Patriots in New England, beat them 33-21, which, I remember that game. Allen was amazing. 314 pass yards, just unstoppable. Isaiah McKenzie killed the Patriots that game, I remember. And then, here we go. Wild card weekend, 47-17, just throttling. A lot of demons exercised in that game. So the Bills are going to beat the Patriots by, I'm going to say, minimum 21 points. And the reason why I say that is because no team has a better pressure rate than the Buffalo Bills at this point. I think they're getting a pressure about every third drop back. And the Patriots have the worst offensive line in football. It is not even close. It is like they are truly advanced defense. Yep. Yeah, so I want to see a pressure rate. So the Buffalo Bills have a pressure rate of 31.1%, and they don't blitz very often. They're getting home with 4 often. They have a stable back there. Them and Philly are very similarly built along the defensive line. And for reference, 31.1%, it clears Kansas City, who's second, 29.7%, and they blitz a ton. They just do. It's Steve Spagnuolo. He has very creative, different blitzes. And here's the thing with pressure rate. It's also a factor of who you play. And while the Bills did not play Danny Dimes. They played Tyrod Taylor. They did play Sam Howell. And Sam Howell loves to run himself into sacks. So, is what it is on that front when it comes to Buffalo. But the point remains that even against good teams and like Jacksonville and other teams, they're able to attack the quarterback, get good pressure, and do things like that. And I think with the Patriots offensive line being, again, the worst in football, they have the worst offensive lineman in football in Vidarian Lowe. I think they're going to line up their best pass rushers. Like Von Miller's going to line right up over Vidarian Lowe and just whoop him every single time. And I think that will lead to an easy Buffalo cover. 9 and 8.5 is just, again, far too low. And that's not even saying with the fact that the Patriots are gimpy on defense and have lost a lot of players. They're not going to be able to stop Buffalo whatsoever. So yeah, fun game for a Patriots fan. Patriots fans just watch Drake May against Virginia this weekend and hope for the best in that front. Then we got Washington at the Giants. So selfishly, I need every other 1-4 team to win some games. And I want Washington. Well, here's the thing: Washington's defensive front, Montez Sweat, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Chase Young. Chase Young is inconsistent, but their defensive front should be able to handle what their Giants have, because the Giants' offensive line is right there with the Patriots in terms of just worst in football. And they're without their best offensive lineman and probably overall best offensive player, most valuable offensive player, not in Saquon, but in Andrew Thomas. So that's going right there. The Giants' defense is not particularly good. So I think that Washington should be able to handle them. They're 2.5-point favorites on the road, and that should be the case. I imagine Washington wins this game pretty handily unless their defense sleepwalks again, which they did against the Bears. But against Tyrod Taylor, who is up there and can't really, bare minimum, Daniel Jones can really move and run around. Tyrod's just too old to do that anymore. So I do think Washington has a really good chance of just taking care of business. Boring game. Win it 20-17, 24-20, and get out of there with a win. So I think that's likely going to happen. I think Arizona at Seattle. Seattle is so much better than Arizona. I think Seattle will just get right, get home. They're going to get home, get right, win a football game, be more efficient in the red zone, take advantage of a porous defense, have a time. I think it's pretty straightforward. If you're into something like that, minus 112, minus 115, 7.5. It is a lot. And if you're not a Geno believer, I get it. But I do think Seattle, just roster-wise, is much better than Arizona. And I think Seattle, again, they just had bad red zone luck. They've been a little poor in the red zone this year. I think that will correct over time. It's still early in the season to see those corrections. So, should be a fun game. I'm excited for it. At least for Seattle. I like watching them play quite a bit. They've got lots of dudes. Pittsburgh at the Rams. The Rams are so much better than Pittsburgh. They just are. I think the Rams are just a much, much better football team overall. They're better coached. They don't have better players necessarily, but because they're better coached, they will operate in a better manner. I think Matt Stafford is very, very good. I don't know if we will never know if Kenny Pickett's actually good until we get rid of Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator from that offense. He skated last year because Matt Patricia was an offensive coordinator in the NFL. So I don't. The Rams are just a much better football team than them, and I don't really see a path for the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat them unless it's like TJ Watt, high-end talent, taking over the game. But I don't really see that happening for Pittsburgh again. They already had that game against the Ravens. So that's my take on that. Chargers at Chiefs. They get together and play exciting football games, except for the fact I think the Chiefs' offense will get right because of how bad the Chargers' defense is. Coming off a pseudo bye, and Andy Reid is fantastic when he has time to cook things up. And I think that Kansas City probably will cover this game. 5.5 is a lot, and I think the Chiefs' defense is not as good as the Cowboys' defense, but Steve Spagnuolo is creative and dials good stuff up. It'll just be a fun chess match between Kellen Moore and Spagnuolo, and Spagnuolo does not have the dudes at his disposal that I'd say Dan Quinn had. And Herbert, well, you hope Herbert plays better because Dallas wasn't really blitzing as much as they were getting home with like stunts and, a 5-man rush. And Spags likes to send the house, zero blitz, creative zone blitzes, fire zones, all that sort of thing. So I think that if they are able to dial up the right blitz beaters, I think the Chargers can take advantage of that. They're very talented. Brandon Staley against Andy Reid. That's all I got to hear. I just had to remind myself. Brandon Staley against Andy Reid. Andy Reid's so much better. Take the Chiefs. Green Bay Packers at Denver Broncos. Now, this is an over I'm watching for sure. I think the number's fairly low. Yeah, 45. And I think that Green Bay's defense is okay. Rashawn Gary's great. Jair Alexander's solid. But overall, I think that their defense is not the best. They're pretty average. They have a really poor run fit as well, but I don't know if the Broncos will take advantage of that. The reason why this over is pretty enticing at 45 is that Green Bay should be able to uncork some stuff offensively. I think Matt LaFleur is too good of a play caller. And if Aaron Jones is healthy, Aaron Jones' health really transforms what Green Bay does on offense. And so I think that should be the case. I think Aaron Jones will have himself a game. Christian Watson will be able to have himself a game, all that good stuff. So the over is enticing, 45. You got to just imagine like a 27-20 sort of game, 24-23, like hover around there. I think one of these teams could get to 40, not 40 or 30 rather, and that'd be Green Bay. But I don't know necessarily if that will happen. It's a pretty risky over. The number's pretty high, but I think I'll probably take that just because it's a push right now too. So I think that'll be the case. All right, Miami at Philly, Sunday night, Funday night. Here's a little secret. Philly, they are 5-1. Their secondary is thrashed. They are so thin back there. And Tua gets the ball out incredibly quickly. Tua has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who will be able to get open in no time flat. Unless Jalen Carter's back and Fletcher Cox is back and just monstrous. This is a Miami runs it up sort of game. They're the underdog. Man, I think Miami's going to kill them. 51 is a high number. I think Miami's speed is just going to be too much for what's a really porous back end. Now, the flip side of this is Miami's defense is not particularly good. They're about average, probably a little bit below average. And Philly should be able to run the ball at will against them. I think that in the they should be able to pass against them as well. And Lane Johnson's injury does matter for sure. But I think the number for the over and under is 51 right now. Yeah, 52 rather. So 52 on DraftKings, 51.5 on FanDuel. That's worth taking because I think, like I said, I think Miami is just going to pour it on. They love to pour it on. And I think that the secondary weakness that the Eagles have right now is going to be exploited like no tomorrow. Mike McDaniel is, I would actually say, it's funny, the two best coaches in the NFL right now, the three best coaches, because Andy Reid right now is still there. He's very, very good right now. It's Andy Reid, Mike McDaniel, and Dan Campbell, which is just a hilarious trio, but all of them are very, very talented offensive game planners. So, obviously, McDaniel is, and Dan Campbell is part of that. Dan Campbell is right now the only successful member of the Earhart-Perkins offensive tree right now, and I love to see it because I love that type of offense. I love power run. I love stuff like that in comparison to wide zone and things. Obviously, wide zone and stuff is very pretty to watch when it's cooking, but it's also just very, very vanilla and can be taken advantage of by having the right defense, like you saw with the Browns. Earhart-Perkins, when it's rolling, it is just our dudes are better than your dudes, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like the power runs, the double teams, duo, stuff like that. And I love, love, love watching it. And that's a bit of a tangent. Obviously, that has nothing to do with Miami and Philadelphia other than Mike McDaniel's a phenomenal coach. And I think that Miami's going to be able to do some real damage to Philly. And I definitely would take them as a dog. I can't say I'm as confident in them as the Lions just because Philly does match up with them offensively very well. But I am very confident in the over. 52 is a big, big number. So it's a big, big number for any team but the Dolphins. So, and Philly could score. The Dolphins defense is not the Jets defense. So yeah, quick little Monday night preview as well. San Fran at Minnesota. I think that number, no Justin Jefferson, 7-point favorites on the road. Yep, that tracks. I think that's probably going to happen. And then quick little look at the NCAA weekend. Friday's bet. James Madison's like really good at football, so that'll be fun potentially. Oh no, that's tomorrow. Friday's probably going to be baseball. SMU at Temple. SMU's 20.5-point favorites. They might cover, they might not. Don't know. But I'm exceptionally excited for Penn State at Ohio State. That over, the number is 45 right now, 45.5. That's an under right then and there. Minnesota, Iowa's 31.5. You gotta take the under just for the vibes. I love Big Ten football, but in all seriousness, Penn State and Ohio State, they have two very good defenses, and Penn State is. It feels weird to say about a non-SEC team or like Michigan or whatever. Michigan's just throttling a bunch of cupcakes right now. I think Penn State is the most talented team in the Big Ten, and that's just the NFL talent they have. And I like J.J. McCarthy. We have eyeballs. He's not an NFL quarterback, right? Penn State's got NFL defenders at every single level of the defense, and they've got them coming off the bench too as sophomores that are going to be in the NFL draft next year. And then obviously the NFL talent on the offensive line, Olu Fashanu is a monster, and will probably be able to erase whatever Ohio State's got cooking on the edge. And I think this game's going to be like Luke Accord is going to be. Is it Luke McCord? Luke Accord? Ohio State quarterback. McCord? Feels right. Kyle McCord, yep. So Kyle McCord has struggled with Notre Dame's defense, and Penn State's defense, I think, is magnitudes better than Ohio State's defense. So I think the under is for sure in this game, because I don't know how good Penn State's offense actually is, but I know that they like to play ball control and can move it a little bit. So there's that game. Excited for that one. Probably going to put that as a best bet. Pitt and Wake over. Don't love that game. Don't love Wisconsin, Illinois. Oregon, Wazoo. Oregon's a massive favorite, as they should be. Tennessee, Alabama. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. Texas is going to murder Houston, which should be a fun bet. Appalachian State is 6.5-point favorite against ODU. Ole Miss and Auburn are playing. Duke, Florida State. Ooh, that's interesting. Miami, Clemson's also interesting. USC, Utah. There's the bet. Not at Utah, so not as fun. And I don't know if Cam Rising's playing in it, so that's some research off to do. ASU at Washington. Washington's a massive favorite. Kind of like that as well. So college is not as fun as last week, so I'll get back once I find some better games, more appropriate games, once some more research is done, but not as fun a slate. But I'll have a handful of bets for everybody on Saturday, so be on the lookout. Thanks for listening. Let's make some money. Peace.